Yeah, good afternoon all. So we'll be starting with the gastrointestinal system. So this will be our plan for the next 7 lectures. We'll be covering oral cancers, peptic ulcer disease, CA stomach, tuberculosis of intestine, IBD, CA colon and diabetes mellitus. And these will be the points which we have to write in the exam or under which we will cover the topic: etiology, pathogenesis, pathology, clinical features, microbiology if it is applicable to that disease, and the microscopic features. You must all be knowing about the GIT. It starts with oral cavity and ends at anus. It helps in digestion of food and absorption of the elements which are required for the body, and whatever is not required is excreted out. So GIT is covered with different type of mucosas according to the requirement. Like in the oral cavity, we generally find the stratified squamous epithelium because we get rough foods, hard foods, and this is the toughest membrane in the body which can bear this type of pressure. So in the oral cavity we generally get the squamous cells. That is why we will be studying only squamous cell carcinoma in oral cavity, which is the commonest one. Next, depending on the need in the rest of the alimentary canal, gastric type mucosa for secreting the HCl and protecting the mucosa by HCl, then intestinal type absorptive mucosa. Here the maximum absorption of the nutrient element takes place. Next is colorectal type. Here the solidification of food particles which are remaining takes place and water is absorbed in the maximum quantity. These are different, you can say, organs or parts of the oral tissue. Starting from the oral mucosa, we discussed earlier, it is covered by stratified squamous epithelium. Teeth, these are the different elements of teeth: enamel, dentine and pulp. Then tongue, it's a predominantly muscular organ which is covered by same stratified squamous epithelium, having different types of taste buds. Then salivary glands secreting the enzymes. Tonsils for protection of the GIT from the foreign materials. So these are different parts. I think you must be aware of all these. These are different terms in the oral cavity which will be useful later when you will be going in the clinical posting, because they designate the cancers according to these parts. So you should know about these different parts, where they are located and what is exactly that part known as. Like lip, everyone knows floor of the mouth. What is floor of mouth? Because we say squamous cell carcinoma of floor of mouth. So where exactly it is located? Then oral tongue, buccal mucosa, gingiva, retromolar trigone. You know about this retromolar trigone? The part behind the last molar up to the ascending ramus of the mandible. That is called retromolar trigone. Then hard palate, then base of tongue. Base of tongue is bound anteriorly by the circumvallate papillae. Papillae end at this point. Behind that, it is base of the tongue. And laterally it is guarded by glossotonsillar sulci and posteriorly by the vallicula. Then tonsillar area, soft palate and pharyngeal walls. These are different parts of the oral cavity. It is just for example why squamous cell carcinoma is common here. This is lower lip. So upper part is inner surface of lip and the lower part is external surface of lip. As you can see, lower part is covered with same stratified squamous epithelium, but simultaneously presence of hair is there because we have a skin here. So hair are present here, and but in the inner surface you can see These are the glands. So we can identify by the section which is the lower lip and inner surface and outer surface. But you can see both the surfaces are covered by stratified squamous epithelium. So we get the squamous cell carcinoma here. Similarly in the tongue, this is the anterior part of the tongue, this is the posterior part of tongue. Both are covered by stratified squamous epithelium, but in the anterior part there are many papillae, different type of papillae, but posterior part is having a thin layer of stratified squamous epithelium and underlying that is lymphoid follicles. So we have said multiple times the surface epithelium of this region is of stratified squamous type throughout, with the greater depth than the epithelium of the skin. It lacks hair follicles which are present on the skin surface and sweat glands, but may contain scattered sebaceous glands, melanocytes and Merkel cells. Can anyone tell me about Merkel cells? What are these? Have you heard about this? Anyone? बताएं please. So it is a kind of homework. You will search about it. What is Merkel cell and what is their function? Okay, and where they are located. Next, it keratinizes in the areas most exposed to mastication. So stratified squamous epithelium with keratinization. Okay, where the pressure is high, this epithelium keratinizes. We will start with oral cancer. Etiology. Tobacco in any form, whether it is chewing, smoking or anything. If you are not chewing and keeping in between your lips and gum, that is also a consumption of alcohol. Sorry, tobacco. And alcohol gives the synergistic effect for tobacco. If a person is consuming both, then the chances of cancer are more. That is the synergistic effect. Then mechanical irritation in the form of ill-fitting dentures, pipe smoking and chronic chewing of anything. If a person is eating only supari, not having tobacco, that is also a mechanical irritation and may cause squamous cell carcinoma. Betel quid, commonly known as pan, which contains betel leaf, areca nut, slaked lime and may or may not contain tobacco. It also causes carcinoma of the oral cavity. HPV. Now, why this is important? Because HPV is a preventable cause of oral cancer. Vaccination has started for this. There are multiple strains of HPV which are responsible for malignancy, 16, 18 and 33, but the most important is 16, HPV 16. Why I have highlighted it? These are the questions which can be asked later in the form of objective types, because all of the students must be going for pre-PG examination, and these are the highlighted things which can come into the exam. HPV 16 is most vulnerable for oral cancer. Then actinic radiation. This is a beautiful table given in Robbins, your Robbins. What is the difference between HPV associated malignancy of oral cavity and non-HPV associated? So basic difference is it occurs in younger age. I think you will all be reading in textbook. The main thing is that it has a good prognosis. As you can see here, HPV associated malignancies are having good prognosis and non-associated are having poor prognosis. First thing. Second, it is a non-keratinizing squamous cell carcinoma and the other one is keratinizing. These are two main features. This is another table in Robbins 16.1 in the recent edition. These are all diseases which can mimic as oral cancer. So you must be aware of it in the clinical classes. So if someone asks any lesion in the mouth, what can be the DDs? You have to enumerate them according to this. These are infectious ones, scarlet fever, measles, infectious mononucleosis, diphtheria, HIV. Dermatological, lichen planus, pemphigus, bullous pemphigoid erythema multiforme. And in the hematological disorders, pancytopenia, leukemia, monocytic leukemia. In the above two, pancytopenia and leukemia, the oral lesions are due to the immunodeficiency caused by the malignancy. And other causes are melanotic pigmentation, phenytoin, pregnancy. So out of this table, why I have taken this table, these are two important things. One is raspberry tongue. Another question for objective type, raspberry tongue or strawberry tongue is found in which disease? This is scarlet fever. Okay. Now what happens when we are exposed to etiological agents? The most common oncogenic alteration identified in oral squamous cell carcinoma involves P16. This is important, P16. P16 alteration in around 80% of cases. P53 in 50%, cyclin D1, P63, P10, RB and EGFR. This thing you will have to mug up. You will have to learn. There is no other way to reproduce in the exam. You will have to learn this. The critically altered pathway include P53. It is inactivated by mutation by HPV16E16 protein inhibitor. And why we are interested in these mutations? Why we are doing so much research into this? Because during therapy we can target these genes and which may help into the treatment of these cancers. Like there are ongoing clinical trials on the usefulness of drugs that specifically target these pathways, such as EGFR inhibitors and VEGF or VEGFR inhibitors. Monoclonal antibodies are given against these receptors so that cancer can be treated. Now the precursor lesions. Before the frank squamous cell carcinoma, there are many warning signs in the oral cavity. First one is leukoplakia. By definition, what is leukoplakia? Leuko is white, plakia is any lesion. So white patch or plaque inside the oral cavity having a size of more than 5 mm. It can't be scraped off. If you scrape by a scalpel or slide or spatula, it can't be scraped off. And there is no other disease simultaneously running in the oral cavity, then we classify it as leukoplakia. The most common site for leukoplakia is buccal gingival gutter and the tongue. Okay, I have placed so many pictures for this. These are all leukoplakic plaques. Most important in ENT, whenever you will go in ENT, you will see they are very much concerned about this leukoplakia, and they definitely take the biopsy for these lesions because in biopsy they may turn out to be either malignant or dysplastic. So 3% of the population have this leukoplakia, and it has a pre-malignant potential of 3 to 25%. Next one is erythroplakia. Similarly, the difference is only erythro, that is, it is red colored. So red, velvety, possibly eroded area within the oral cavity usually remains level with or maybe slightly depressed relative to the surrounding. The important thing is this, it has more potential of pre-malignant region. This is another question. Which is more malignant, erythroplakia or leukoplakia? So the answer is erythroplakia is more pre-malignant than leukoplakia. And similarly, we have to take the biopsy of all such lesions. Another such type of lesion is oral submucosal fibrosis. There is trismus of oral muscles and shortening of the oral cavity opening. So whenever there is a person with long-term chewing of tobacco and you ask him to open the mouth, his mouth opening reduces. Okay, so that is known as oral submucosal fibrosis. These are the changes that can be seen in the microscopic examination of the either leukoplakia or erythroplakia. See in the first slide, if we divide this layer, this whole layer, upper one is keratosis and this one is epithelial layer. So if we divide this layer into 3 layers, then lower 1/3 is dysplastic, or the nucleus are haphazardly arranged. There is hyperchromasia in the lower 1/3. Then we call it as mild dysplasia. In the second picture, you can see this part is spared, upper 1/3. So lower 2/3 is involved. Then it is called as moderate dysplasia. And in the last one, whole of the epithelium, full length, is having dysplastic nuclei. So according to this, we classify it as mild, moderate and severe dysplasia in the pre-malignant lesions. These are all pre-malignant lesions. One more term which can be asked is field cancerization. What is that? Field cancerization or field change. Say if a person is consuming any agent like carcinogen or tobacco, anything, whole of the oral cavity is exposed to that antigen or the toxin, okay? But he may develop the malignancy, say for upper lip, he has developed the malignancy and we have treated it by surgery. But after 3 to 5 years, he is developing another lesion on the base of the tongue. Then what will you call it? It is recurrence or second malignancy. For that, we use this term, field cancerization, because his whole of the oral cavity was exposed and it was the second primary, not the recurrence. So it's a biological process in which large area of the cells at a tissue surface or within an organ are affected by carcinogenic alteration. The process arises from exposure to an injurious environment, often over a lengthy period. So it's a second primary which is at the rate of around 3 to 7% per year. These are the clinical features for the CA oral cavity. Anything patient can present with anything. Pain in the mouth, lump or thickening in the lips, mouth or cheek, white or red patch on the gums, tongue, tonsil or lining of the mouth, sore throat, trouble chewing or swallowing, trouble moving the jaw or the tongue, numbness of the tongue, lip or any other area of the mouth, swelling or the pain in the jaw, dentures that start to fit poorly or become uncomfortable, loosening of the teeth or pain around the teeth, voice changes, lump or mass in the neck or back of the throat, weight loss and pain in the ear. So this is the second feature of the oral cavity malignancy. First, it presents with the lesion in the oral cavity and simultaneously with a node in the neck. So these are called the secondaries, lymph node metastasis. Sometimes we can't see the lesion in the oral cavity, he presents only with this node. Then we do the FNAC for this and see the malignant lesion in this. Then we search for the primary accordingly. These are different levels of the node. Later you will have to learn it. This is just for indication. 1A, 1B, level 1, 2, 3, 4. According to the muscle markings, they are divided into 6 areas. So according to these, the lymph node dissection is done in the cancer cases. So on the microscopy, what we can found, as discussed, most common, around 90% is squamous cell carcinoma. Rest all are uncommon lesions which can be found: verrucous carcinoma, adenoid, adenosquamous, basiloid, papillary, spindle cell, small cell, and many more. What is the treatment? Standard treatment is wide excision of the lesion with proper margin, and if required, then the lymph node dissections in the neck. That is called radical neck dissection. And if required, we give the radiation therapy after this. Okay? So crux is eat healthy, stay healthy. Now the question answer part. According to the multiple choice questions. अगर आपको ऐसा लगा हो कि कुछ समझ में आया है तो आप आंसर दे पाएंगे. First one, 35-year-old female patient of South Asian origin presents with a severe burning sensation in the mouth. She has a history of betel quid chewing for the past 15 years. On clinical examination, you note she has a marked trismus. What is trismus? What is trismus? Anyone? ऐसे पूछूं या एक एक को? What is trismus? बैठे बैठे बता देना. नहीं? Okay. Pain during opening of mouth, trismus. Difficulty in opening the mouth. ठीक है? So she has a marked trismus. Pain or difficulty? Which one of the following is the most likely diagnosis? Right, submucous fibrosis. 60-year-old male presents with a white patch in his oral floor. So it's leukoplakia. Okay. He is a chronic smoker for the last 40 years. You make a provisional diagnosis of leukoplakia. What is the significance of leukoplakia at this site? Anyone? Increased risk of dysplasia, right. So you know all these terms. Acanthosis, what is acanthosis? Answer is correct, but what is acanthosis? Acanthosis is increase in the thickness of the layer. So acanthosis तो होगी ही, लेकिन साथ में न्यूक्लियर फीचर भी डिस्प्लास्टिक होंगे. Then we call it dysplasia. Acanthosis तो होगा ही होगा. ठीक है? हाइपरकेरेटोसिस मैंने आपको दिखाया था अभी तीनों जो माइल्ड मॉडरेट सीवियर में दिखाया था. ऊपर का जो लेयर जिसमें केराटिन की लेयर इंक्रीज हो जाती है, दैट इज कॉल्ड हाइपरकेरेटोसिस. 60-year-old female presents with a 3-week history of painless ulcer on the left lateral border of her tongue. She is chronic cigarette smoker since her youth. Clinical examination shows ulcer has reverted margins and there is reduced mobility of her tongue. Which one of the following is the most likely diagnosis? Squamous cell carcinoma? Why? Why not leukoplakia? Because margins are reverted. Okay? It is not a simple plaque or patch. Next is 55-year-old patient presents with a red patch on a ventral aspect of his tongue. He is a chronic smoker. You make a provisional diagnosis of erythroplakia. You plan to carry out an incisional biopsy of the lesion. Which one of the following finding on HP is most likely to dictate the future course of treatment for this patient? What should be done next after histopathological examination will depend on severity of dysplasia. Very good. You are discussing the pre-malignant potential of oral lesions with your colleague. In this regard, which one of the following is most likely to be associated with severe dysplasia on HP examination? Erythroplakia. Very nice. So that's all from my side for today.